I will give you an overview of the results as they were registered in 2019. And I've also included a few slides representing the results for Latin America, and I will guide you through them. So what is the timeline survey? Fiat IFTA has started this timeline survey in 2012, as I said, and it's a representation of what stage Fiat IFTA members are in on the journey towards digital archiving in terms of the preservation format, the content management system, access, metadata creation, and connection to the audience. So the principle of this survey is that you tell us where you are, and Fiat IFTA allows you to compare your situation with the situation of other audiovisual archives around the world. The results of the survey serve as well to serve you with relevant information on Fiat IFTA events such as this one or others such as the World Conference, the annual World Conference. I would like to start with with a short disclaimer in the sense that obviously if you deal with statistics, with this kind of surveys and statistics, you have to keep in mind that the results of a survey are always prone to the errors and the flaws of statistics in itself. And I'd like to quote Benjamin Disraeli, who said, "Lies, damn lies, and statistics." This survey, this annual survey, which, as I said, has built up a tradition since 2012, has become more successful over the years, and you will see here the number of participants, the number of respondents that we have had throughout the years. As you can see, last year in 2019, when we organized this survey right before the World Conference in Dubrovnik, we had 97 participants. For your information, I have also added the number of participants from Latin America, and also there you can see a slight growing tendency over the years when it comes to Latin American participants. And we got up to 14 Latin American answers in 2019. So you can see that 1 out of 7, more or less, of the answers that we had is coming from Latin America. Here is a small map of where we had the answers. Obviously, the biggest part of the Fiat IFTA membership is in Europe, and that's why you see a lot of answers from Europe here. But we also got answers from New Zealand or Japan or Thailand, or also from North America or South America, Africa, evidently. In 2019, as I said, we had 102 responses after elimination of the doubles, because some organizations have submitted 2 answers. We got up to 97 results, and we would hope that this year we can break the result of 97 answers, because at this point, at this moment, the survey is open for answers. The 2020 edition is currently going on, and I would like to invite you to fill out the survey. The link is on the Fiat IFTA website, and at the end of this presentation, I will also give you the opportunity via a short link to fill out the survey for this year. So everybody who is in charge of or does work for an audiovisual archive is kindly invited to fill out the survey. A brief overview of the types of organizations answering the survey shows us that those reflect very well the Fiat IFTA membership as well, although you don't have to be a Fiat IFTA member to answer to the survey. 60%, a bit less than 2/3 of the answers come from broadcasters. National or regional audiovisual archives are good for 1/5, 1 out of 4 answers. And then there are smaller quantities of private archives, audiovisual archives of international associations, and others. When we have a look at the participants to the 2019 timeline survey, you will see that the biggest part, as I said, comes from Western Europe with 57 answers. 14 were from Latin America, but I want to stress that Latin America was still the continent that sent in the second most answers to the survey, and I would like to thank the audiovisual archiving community in Latin America for that. The first question that I would like you to show the results of is about the preservation of audiovisual archives. So this is these statistics that you will see here are global statistics of the evolution as registered by the survey from 2016 to 2019. As you can see, the survey every year works with a number of steps going up. So with the first step always being the most basic and the last step always being the most advanced. If you look at the steps in this scale, we see that the number of analog carriers such as film, videos, or stills, or at least the situation in which this is the most advanced stage, is in fact growing. And you might be saying, well, that is kind of strange, because you would think that this is a stage that we evolve away from. However, I want to say that the participants to the survey are not always the same organizations, and that makes the results of the survey not always exactly comparable. Still, the results of the survey hold a value in the sense that they give a large tendency. In general, I also want to point to the red bar here at the end, which stands for storing digital files in the cloud. And this option is only given since 2017. If we look at the geographic distribution of the most advanced preservation format, we see that the Latin American audiovisual collections, as shown in this point, do very well, in fact. So we can clearly see that they have started their digitization process and they are advancing well with it. Still, I want to point that we got to the fact that we got no answers from Latin America that indicated that those archives were already storing files in the cloud. We have also asked to all the participants of the survey, we have asked for the reasons for not storing in the cloud. There were several reasons why not to store in the cloud were mentioned. We had given several options, but I want to show you, or to point particularly to the distribution between 2018 and 2019. And I want to point you to the fact that the reason of not storing into the cloud, called sufficient storage, there is no need. So the number of archives that indicated that they had no need to store in the cloud went sharply down between 2018 and 2019. On the other hand, I also want to point to the fact that the answer, we are investigating the market, and so we are preparing to save files in the cloud, has risen, has increased sharply between 2018 and 2009. Still, if there would be cloud storage vendors in the room, this is also important information. Between 2018 and 2019, the number of respondents that particularly indicated doubts about data protection issues, doubts about the security, and the unwillingness to outsource their core business has also sharply increased in the past year. When we look at the worldwide migration status of audiovisual archives as measured by the Fiat IFTA timeline survey, we have given the respondents a scale to indicate their status. The scale begins at transfer to files has not yet begun. Transfer to mass storage, that is. And we see there between 2019 and 2018 also a small increase due to the fact that the respondents were not exactly the same. Nevertheless, in the long run, on this survey, you can target, on this question, you can target or see the evolution of the migration of audiovisual archives to files and to mass storage systems increase throughout the years. For example, the number of archives that indicated that the transfer of all their archives to files is completed has doubled over the past years. I want to include in this presentation also, particularly to this audience, an indication of where Latin America is as compared to the rest of the world. First question being how much non-file based content is already migrated onto mass storage systems, for example, via digitization. As you can see in this graph, and I want first to point to the first stage, the number of respondents that actually has not begun with the digitization, that not has begun yet with the transfer of audiovisual files, is far greater in Latin America than in the rest of the world. This is an important concept. Also, if we look at the number of archives that has already finished its digitization, that has already finished its transfer of their audiovisual materials into files, also there the rest of the world has gone through a far bigger evolution than Latin America. And then if you look at these graphs, you will also see that if Latin American archives have already started, we see that they are more in the first stages between 10 and 50%, so under halfway, whereas the rest of the world, and particularly Europe, of course, because in Europe we had the most answers to the survey, we see that they have advanced a bit more. Nevertheless, I would say that the first and the last graph here are very indicative and are extremely important to keep in mind that in Latin America we still have a lot of audiovisual archival material to be digitized. When we have a look at the content management system on a global scale, and this is the evolution on a global scale, I would like to point you to the next scale, and this is from step 1 to step 6. And we're starting here with a card index, with logbooks, with paper-based finding aids. And we are evolving towards the most advanced stage, which is a digital asset management and a rights management system. As you can see here, throughout the years, the number of archives in step 1, 2, and 3 have gradually gone down, have decreased. And obviously there has been a move towards the later stages of this question, namely a digital asset management system and a digital asset management and rights management system. When we look particularly to the Latin American situation and we compare it with the rest of the world, you will see that in the earlier stages, namely step 1, step 2, step 3, and step 4, the Latin American archives are better represented. For example, 21% of our Latin American respondents indicated that they still work with card index, with logbooks and other paper-based finding aids as the most advanced means that they have to describe their collection. If we look at step 6, a digital asset management and rights management system, none of the Latin American respondents actually indicated to be in this stage. So also here we see that the Latin American audiovisual archives are lagging a bit behind on the rest of the world. These are the points that I indicated here. If we go to the access to the archive on a global scale, and the evolution is here from 2015 until 2019, we once again see 6 steps. The first being the possibility for the archivists to view originals on videotape machines and monitors such as a Steenbeck machine, Steenbeck film table. The most advanced stage here is online browsing copies for internal staff and high-res transfer and export possible from the archival systems. Also here we see a gradual evolution towards the later stages. We see a gradual progress of the of archives worldwide in the digital journey towards a fully fledged archiving system that also gives external staff or even external collaborators access to the archive. However, if we compare Latin America with the rest of the world here, we once again see that the step 6, the browser resolution files viewed over the web within the organization and through external websites for staff and public access, at this stage has not been reached by Latin American archives yet. On the contrary, these the Latin American archives are overrepresented as compared to the rest of the world in the earlier stages, such as viewing originals on the videotape machines and monitors of Steenbeck. When we look at the metadata creation methods, which are obviously very important in an archive to describe what is actually visible in the images or audible in the audio, we again have designed 7 steps. The first step being only production metadata in existence, and none of these metadata are created by catalogers, and there is also no catalog. Step 7, the most advanced stage, is actually some automatic creation of technical metadata, descriptive metadata input by catalogers, but also by production staff, by external applications, by tagging, crowdsourcing, and even automated methods of metadata creation, such as image recognition or speech recognition. There is an interesting evolution there, that is that we see a slow but gradual increase of the archives who apply on more automated technologies for the description of archives. Evermore, we see also a gradual move towards the more advanced stages, and I would also like to point that step 6, namely metadata creation with tagging and crowdsourcing, are never got really their breakthrough. When we compare the Latin American respondents to the rest of the world, here we see a very sharp difference. We see a difference between the rest of the world that actually has advanced far, and Latin America that is still in the step 1, step 2, and step 3 regions. When it comes to access for the audience, so now we are speaking about the external audience and their way to access the archive, we have worked with 4 steps. The first one being broadcasters such as TV and radio stations that give access to the content, or websites non-dedicated to the archive. This answer is more or less tailored to the situation of broadcasters. The next one is all the above, plus featuring items on own dedicated archival websites. And then the above plus access to the archival content and via apps, for example. And then the last step is the above plus external or own platforms aiming at target groups, for example, education. Here also you see a gradual move away from the step 1 and into step 4 gradually. When we look at the current situation, and now we're speaking 2019 again, between Latin America and the rest of the world, once again, we see that Latin America is overrepresented in step 1 and in step 2, whereas in the later stages, step 3 and step 4, Latin America is a bit underrepresented. So it's interesting to see that also here, in general, the Latin American audiovisual archives haven't reached the access to their archives via social media platforms, websites, and apps, let alone via for platforms that aim specifically at target groups such as the educational sector. I want to stress that this question is particularly interesting considering the COVID-19 crisis. Why? Because evidently there has become a great pressure due to the crisis for online access to audiovisual materials, either in the archives of broadcasters or in other audiovisual archives worldwide. As I promised, I would like to point you now to a link, which is bit.do/fiat-IFTA. If you follow this link and you are working for an audiovisual archive in Latin America, please follow this link and you will be immediately guided to the 2020 edition of the Fiat-IFTA Timeline Survey. You can fill out this survey. It takes not more than 5 minutes because the questions are rather straightforward. And you can also answer a few questions that we have added this year in particular about the consequences of the COVID-19 crisis for your audiovisual archives. Nevertheless, I want to stress this only takes you 5 minutes to fill this timeline survey out. And I want to stress that the answers will be treated fully anonymously, so that it will be impossible to pinpoint your answer to your organization. This allows, obviously, for a better processing, and I would think that this also allows for more honest answers, so that we can keep tracking the evolution of audiovisual archives worldwide and informing you about the status and to provide you with meaningful and interesting presentations and courses and guidelines and documents and all the initiatives that Fiat-IFTA takes and tailor them to your needs. Finally, and this is close to my last slide, I would like to invite you to a next event that we will be hosting and broadcasting also online from the 26th until the 29th October. It is the joint conference of IASA, the International Association of Sound and Audiovisual Archives, and Fiat-IFTA. For the first time in 25 years, we organize a joint conference. This was originally scheduled to take place in Dublin, but it will be organized online due to the sanitary crisis, obviously. We have composed an interesting and attractive program of almost 4 full days, and all the details are available via the website fiatiasa2020.org. So we hope to see many of you there. And I want to say that the program is already online and the registration will be open soon. So I would like to thank once again all the Brazilian and Latin American archives in general that have filled out the timeline survey in the last years. And I would also like to thank those who have done it already this year, and we look forward to hearing your answers. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I will be around throughout this whole seminar to answer your questions. Thank you very much.